Hi, welcome back to the wonderful world of sacred geometry. I'm your host, Nadi Hanna, and we're going to be taking a sneak peek into the world of decagons and tenfold geometry. Technically, this will be decagons and decagrams, but either way, it's 10-pointed stars. And it's really just based on pentagonal geometry. Hopefully you joined us for the previous episode on pentagrams and pentagons, because that'll give you the basics for this module. But it was not necessary because I'm going to give you the whole drawing of how to start with the pentagon. So I'm actually going to pop right into the drawing. Just to inspire you, I want to show you one piece of an extraordinary decagon, which is just so cool. There's your pentagon embedded in the decagon and the fivefold and the tenfold geometry. The fives and tens, it is such an extraordinary study. You can get into the dodecahedron, but we're focusing on the fives and tens today. So I want you to begin with the pentagram series, which is to draw 2 circles. Let's make it nice and big. I believe that a 2.5-inch radius. You want to have a 2.5-inch width on your compass, which will give us 5-inch diameter circles. And you want to draw 2 circles at the bottom of your page. Hopefully it's an 11 by 14. And putting the page on landscape, looking at it, and then having a nice wide space to draw the 2 first circles, A and B. Hopefully this looks a little bit familiar after you've drawn the pentagon before. And then creating circle C by putting the compass point at the intersection of the 2 circles and drawing a half arc. Really, you only need the half circle. You're just going for these 2 intersection points down here. Right? And then it does help to label the top 2 points, circle A and circle B, and then circle C at the bottom. Now remember, most of this is going to get erased, so do draw lightly in order to highlight the pentagon and then build on it for the decagon. So now you're going to draw both horizontal and vertical lines. You want the vertical line going through the intersection points at the top and bottom of the circles. You want the top of the vertical line to extend a little bit beyond what I showed here, so probably about 2 inches above that. And then your horizontal line is just going to connect points A and B and extend a little bit beyond the circles. But again, drawing nice and lightly. And you want to label the points D on the top, E just above the central intersection point of the vertical and horizontal lines, and go ahead and label F on the bottom right and G on the bottom left intersections of the circles. All right, you're doing great. Keep on keeping on. It's interesting, isn't it? Less than desirable that you can't ask questions in an online course. I hadn't thought of that yet. 7 modules into it. So then we're going to bisect the shape on both diagonal axes, and you're going to draw a line from F through E, and that's going to give you a point up on the top left diagonal, and you're going to call that H. And then you want to draw another diagonal line on the other axis from G through E, which will give you point I on the top right diagonal. And then you want to draw lines from H down to A and from I down to B. Always looks like a bishop's crown to me. Fascinating what's revealed in the geometry, right? So then you want to take your compass point and put it on I and swing the arc up to the top and make a little hash mark up where it intersects with the vertical line. And then you want to do the same on the other side, coming from H, swinging the compass up where it intersects with the vertical line, hopefully creating a point there. And then you want to draw lines from I up to that point and from H up to that point for your pentagon. And then we're going to participate in the tragedy of erasing everything but the pentagon. I think one of the reasons that I don't draw the pentagon too often is because all of the hoopla that it takes to get there. You know, it's this huge structural process that ends up just being erased. And I don't feel like that's true for any of the other geometries, really. I'm probably just biased towards the flower of life. It frustrates me to have to erase a bunch of things. You'll also see that in the tesseract if you hop into the eightfold geometry module. That is such a beautiful shape. You end up erasing like almost all of it, but every step along the way is super pretty, unlike this one. Like, this is just kind of boring diagram to get you to the pentagon, whereas the tesseract, literally like every step of the way could be its own piece of art. Not to pitch it too heavily. All right. So now once you've got your pentagon, it would be empty, but I've gone ahead and drawn in a pentagram here. So do the same thing. Label your points A through E around clockwise, and then pop a little pentagram in there connecting the points. If you're savvy by now with the different polygon courses, you could draw it in one solid line, moving the ruler in the flow from A to C to E to B to D to A. So hopefully you've had some fun with the pentagon and pentagram in the earlier class, maybe fractalizing, maybe working with the closed aspect of the shape. Endless amounts of fun with the pentagram, but we're going to go into the decagon now, which is basically two pentagons on top of each other. So this is just so simple. You want to draw a line from A down through the intersection points between D and C, a little bit past the boundary of the pentagon, and then you're going to do that 5 more times from each point, right? Oh, there's a nice pivot in the drawing. So you'll get these radiating lines going out. And it's just so fun how the geometry is always showing us. I know I say that in every class, but it's like, I find it fascinatingly user-friendly, right? You don't necessarily have to remember all the steps. Sometimes, if you stare at the geometry long enough, it will show you the step, even if you've forgotten, just to be super magical about it. So now once you've got this shape, oh, the letters disappeared in this one. That's great. You don't need them. So now we're going to open your compass from the center point of the star out to the tip of the pentagon, which is point A, which I erased and is now magically back. Go ahead and create that width and then draw a circle around the pentagon, right? Which is going to show you these next new 5 points, right? Which I think I magically did assign letters to so that I could explain it easier. I did give the points F, G, H, I, and J. And basically what we're doing is just connecting, right? F down to G, G over to H, H up to I, and then back to start through J over to F. And that is going to give you the decagon, or 2 pentagons on top of each other, which looks like this. Again, so much erasing, but it's always fun to darken in the lines. And now you've got a super cool shape. And I know I'm probably going a little bit faster than your pace. And, you know, even the erased version looks pretty cool. But you can do so much with this. If you want to pause for a second, I'll just show you. Once I drew this, it just, you know, you just get inspired and you're like, oh, I could try that. So I ended up with these 4 different iterations of super cool decagon art. There's a process that your brain clicks into in the creation of the geometry that somehow allows for the next inspired shape to emerge, right? It's this alignment of the hemispheres. Your left brain quiets a little bit so your right brain can take over and inspire you to express the next geometry or creative patterning or coloring, whichever you are drawn to, pun intended. I want to encourage you. I will go back to the decagon here if you want to finish up. But I do want to encourage you to practice, play, get in touch with me, send me the art that you think is so awesome, because I think it's awesome too. And go ahead and come out of the screen share. Good job. So thanks for hanging out, and I hope to see you again. Take care.